Darren brought up that we were like, salt is taste. It's a flavor. It's a spice. During that time, we were the spice of life in this town, basically. The Lord is, not only a purifying factor, but we actually got to be the flavor. We showed what Norway really should be right there. It should be a fun, family-friendly area that loves Jesus, is what we showed, and people liked it. And that's what we Christians are supposed to do, both as a church and as individuals, right there. And let's see, we covered that. So this takes us to two different ideas in the same vein. One, by how our actions stand out in a way that do not show Christ. And we've talked about that a bit, and we've also talked about where we can stand out for Christ. And the one other thing I have in here as a note is it's really easy to stand out as a group as Christians. Like, if you're together. It's much harder to stand out when you're by yourself. It's easy to fall into where, if you're to easily, it would be easy for you to get caught up in those dirty jokes that you mentioned. People don't get talked. So it takes a lot more discipline and a lot more grace from our Lord to be able to do that.
It's very easy to sit in church on a Sunday morning, or sit in a group like we're sitting here right now, and we're just talking religion and spiritual things out there. But it's a different thing when you get out to the real world. Mm-hmm. There's where you don't hide your light.
You're right. And so right here, so moving on to the next point, how can we act as salt that has lost its saltiness individually? How can we act like that smoker did in standing out in a way that sinks our Christian witness?
Well, if you participate in swearing or sexual things or whatever.
That one right there would stand out a lot.
I think the pastor had something good this morning, though, too, when he said that we can't just get in somebody's face and jam it down their throat. We got to do this with love, because you're just going to turn them off. We got to be careful with that, too. We can't get this holier than thou attitude.
That's actually a really good point there.
Or an angry attitude about
it. That's a really good point. The fact is, we can sink our Christian witness by not being salt and light in the world, by literally trying to force our beliefs down somebody's throat. I mean, we're called to adhere to them and tell people about them very boldly, but in the same way, we're not supposed to sit there and be, hostile. I mean, we'll say, and we don't come across it as much up here, but if we're in California, we come across it a lot more. If we were dealing with homosexual and lesbian people a lot more, if we were dealing with that, I mean, you can sit there and tell them this. You can tell them the same thing in two different ways. In one way, they're not going to like it either way. But one way, they're going to know that you still care about them and love them, even if they aren't liking you at the moment. And the other one is just going to cause them to hate you, really. And we don't want to do that. That'll just, even if we are otherwise adhering to our Christian witness very well, that would destroy it right there, because then that'll just go up that they're just a hateful bunch of Christians, and that would be enough. That would spread through a community, and we don't. And that's not.
How are you ever going to bring that person into our way of thinking if we act that way towards them in a demeaning way?
Because if we act in a demeaning, angry way, that's actually just the way the world acts.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, they're just going to look at that there. Why would they want to be part of the church? Why would they want to be a Christian? So that actually covers in here. It's like we have in here how Darren's already covered it a little bit, but how would your conversation affect with your coworkers for your testimony? You mentioned the dirty jokes also there, and you kind of covered that already in the fact that if we're being hurtful and hurtful and angry during this stuff, that would right there would wreck it there. So here's another one. If you're in a restaurant and you get really bad service, and we've all had that, how could your actions there hurt your being salt and light if you get really bad service? because I know we've all had it.
Leaving a low tip, saying something to the manager about the service, complaining in front of everybody.
Yep, that wouldn't be Christ-like right there. And
You don't know, they might just be having a bad night too.
exactly, I mean,
Sometimes they can't control what's coming out of the kitchen.
and who knows, the table that was sitting, the people sitting at your table before you showed up, could have been a miserable lot, and put them in that foul mood. And even if they're just a foul person, we'll just put it that they go into that category. The fact that you treat them well, they know that usually people know if they are, they're a little prickly, for lack of a better word. They know they are, and if you treat them well in spite of that, that stands out, right there.
I heard that Christians are supposed to be the biggest tippers. They said, you know how you look at to tip? And you like moan and groan because they even tell you how to tip. I think it was Alistair Baker that said something, and he said we should be the biggest tippers for people. And sometimes we don't really even want to tip.
No, that's true, because again, right there, we're not using yes, there is to some point, a tip is a reward for acting good, but in reality, we come out, because our faith comes out of grace, which grace is undeserved, mercy is undeserved. So even right there, if they deserve it, yeah, you should give them a good tip. But if, because of grace and mercy, even if they gave bad service, you may not give them the perfect tip, but in the same way, out of grace and mercy, you should give them an okay tip, something like
I guess
that.
we shouldn't
You don't
be a
punish
cheap-
them
We
with
shouldn't
it.
be a cheap tipper though. If you even have a good service, you shouldn't be a cheap tipper. They should always go above.
Yep, I agree. And so, how can your actions with your family members, if you have non-Christian family members, not help you be salt and light? I was thinking of you actually during this one, because you've had a lot of opportunity with this lately.
Yeah, I had a lot of opportunities after, but especially with family members, it's so difficult. And with family members, they'll shut you down probably a lot easier than somebody else will. But I always have in the back of my mind too, I don't want to get too rough with them because I'm afraid they'll slam the door on me. I won't have it because for so long of anybody that you want to be there, you want your family to be there and accept Christ, and it's very difficult sometimes. So, but you gotta persevere, and when that door is open up a crack, you gotta take it. But boy, you gotta be careful.
Yep.
Especially if you got a strong non-believer. Especially in my family, where we didn't grow up with it or anything like that. We weren't even taught it. We went a little bit to Sunday school, but it wasn't 1% of the priority in our lives was not Christianity. They don't understand, and they're the hardest people to talk to. And especially if you've been a Christian for a while, it's hard to think on their level down there. So sometimes what you're saying to them, they don't even understand.
No, I understand. So there, the big thing would be being very gentle,
Yes.
not being gentle with them and talking to them in a way that they don't understand would be a way of being unloving, unkind, and therefore not being like yourself.
Sometimes you got to be blunt with them.
Oh, that
I
I
had to
agree.
tell my younger brother. He point blank asked me. He says, "Then you say I'm going to hell?" And I say, "Yeah, I agree. I think yeah."
But see,
I
there
thought you
they
changed.
they opened the door there. I've had that, like, I was at Bay. I remember this girl. She was bisexual, and she specifically asked me, and I said, "Yes, you are," because we're called to speak the truth, but to speak the truth in love. It wasn't that I treated this girl badly, but she wanted to ask the question. So, if she's going to ask the question, then you have to answer. We are also called to have an answer to anybody.
You got to be truthful.
Yes.
You gotta be truthful.
Yes, there's a way you can say it again, as we said, the same thing both in a loving way, and we can say it in a way that's hurtful, and we want to say it in a loving way.
I think the hardest thing with family is, first off, they know your faults.
Yes, they do,
They know how they know you're not perfect.
and that's where
And,
this
and
comes in.
Yeah, and then when you're all of a sudden telling them about Christ, and you have to be able to, they have to see a change in your life, but at the same time, it's hard, like Leroy said, because they're your family and you love them and you want them saved, but you don't want to alienate them either. So a lot of times in my own life, I felt I wasn't bold enough with my family, you know, and didn't like my, you know, didn't, yeah, you can live it, but you got to talk it too.
But like right here though, being salt and light, it's not only talking; it's actually living,
Living it,
life.
that's it.
It's
You gotta
living
live
the
it,
actions.
too.
Because basically, what you're saying is where they know your faults. We're called to live in a way that gives people a way so they can look at it as much as they don't. It gives you a ground to speak, basically. Because if you're a hypocrite, you don't have grounds to speak. But if you are living as salt and light, you have grounds to speak. Right there.
Well, they have to see a change in you.
And okay, and here remember where we said alcohol, and I said that it's coming up. This is where we're coming here. And I'm going to say specifically, not to be legalistic. It is, the Bible does not say you cannot have a drink. But
Drunkenness.
yes, exactly, drunkenness. But it is one of those things that you need to be careful with when you're dealing with it. And so the question is, if you think having a drink occasionally is okay, the amount of you drink could affect your testimony. So we have 3 questions to go with it. The first one will be a little obvious, like how would your testimony be affected if you drink a lot?